Hello, welcome to the Casual Critics, where we dive into some of today's hottest topics on sports, politics, culture, and more. My name is Rebecca Baker, and my co-host, Presley Baker, my daughter, is not with me today. So I'm solo, and Presley is busy moving from Washington, D.C. to Syracuse, New York, where she'll be starting law school in the next 2 weeks. And speaking of Syracuse, New York, I have a guest today. Pat Favalo is a friend of mine, but also worked with me for the last several years in Syracuse for Hoffman's Sausage Company. He is Hoffman's National Sales Manager. And Pat and I share a love of food, sports, and politics. So I thought, what a perfect guest to have. Pat is going to join us today.
I can hear you. What's going on, Beck?
Not a lot. Thanks for joining us today.
No problem. Looking forward to it.
Yeah. So I know you and I have done a lot of shows together in different markets, especially Syracuse, and we always have a good back and forth. So I wanted you to definitely be a guest today.
Yeah, I love those. It's different because we're not cooking hot dogs. We're not grilling. We're going to get into different things.
Well, you know.
My wife and I love the episodes. We've watched them all. We love them all. We have our little comments here and there. We think they're great. So as your junior critic today, I'm looking forward to the topics that we're going to come up with.
That sounds good. So yeah, we're going to label you the most casual of critics today. I don't think I got to show you these, so I'm going to have to send you, since you're not on Zoom today, but you're by phone. I'll send you a picture of these, but I got my long-awaited Trump sneakers in that I ordered like 5 or 6 months ago. And they came in this big black box that says Trump on the front in gold. So I'm just going to show, like, on video for those who are tuning in on YouTube what this looks like. It's very sweet. And I don't know if you've I don't know if you've seen these, but I tried to order the gold high top pair, but those sold out like almost immediately. And those were like, I don't know, I think they ran like $250. These were like $100, 120, I think. Which is kind of typical for good tennis shoes anymore anyway. But they have a big gold T on the side and an American flag, and then they have 45 stamped in gold and white on the back. And they came, the wrap says Trump on it, and it has like a picture of Trump inside the box, and then it has a little note inside that says, "Enjoy my sneakers and have fun," and signed by Donald Trump. So I was very excited that these finally came. I kind of was thinking it was a scam until they actually showed up. So very cool. But I will send you a picture of these.
Yeah, that's awesome. I was going to ask you, did you get low tops or high tops, but you answered that question with your tennis shoes.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, they're kind of almost like a little bit in between, but they're low, but they're like kind of around your ankle. But I'll send you a pic. They're pretty sweet. And I looked online, and now there's all kinds of different Donald Trump shoes that are available, which is really funny. So I don't know how brave I'm going to be about wearing these, but you know me, I'll take the chance.
I'm going to bet that you are going to do several laps in the neighborhood, and most people will probably hoot and holler and wave, and a couple of the others, you don't need them.
Well, anytime I do have something of Trump on, I actually get way more positive response than negative by far. So, I mean, that's a good sign. But anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, so think about it, not to interrupt you. So a few weeks ago, we went to the Renaissance Festival. My buddy is a huge Trump fan, and he had on the Brandon hat and the Brandon shirt. I think it was like Happy 4th of July, but it was Christmas. And we had the over-under set at 9 comments. And he ended up getting like 15 comments, and most of them were high fives and, oh my God, that's great. Where did you get it from? And stuff like that. So that's cool.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, like, I've even jogged around in my Trump shirts in New York City and in California when I'm out that way, in San Diego area. And I usually get a lot of, honks and high fives and way to go, kind of fists up in the air, which, now is symbolic, right? So let's talk about fists in the air. Trump's assassination attempt, happened since, we were in Italy when that happened. And so we actually talked a little bit about it in our last episode. But I don't know where you were when you found out.
Yeah, we were at the Renaissance Festival, which normally they turn off all your cell phones. It's just kind of puts you back in like the olden days. And we drove back, and then my sister follows a lot of that stuff. And at first, she just said he got shot. And then I was like, oh my gosh, we quickly check it out. And then the fist, the famous picture with blood on his ear and yelling, fight, fight, fight with the flag in the background. And you're just like, wow, that's just crazy. And how did it happen? So then, of course, as the different information started slowly trickling out, you're just kind of wondering, as you look at that whole area, I was shocked and stunned by it, but not surprised because, they can't lock him up. They better try this and then try that. So talk about super resilient. And then he just happened to move his head. Me personally, I believe in that divine intervention.
Me
so
too.
I'm thinking, you know what I mean? Like the breath of God, something like moved it just so slightly.
Yeah.
Crazy.
There was
Absolutely crazy.
definitely an angel on his shoulder that day telling him to, move your head this way just a bit. I think probably part of the problem too, I don't know if you saw all this, but I watched a lot of the interviews from the Secret Service, being the congressional inquiry, and the head of the Secret Service, and I can't remember her name. It's Kimberly Cheadle.
Kimberly Cheadle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I watched her, and of course she had no answers, zero answers. And my thing is, they always label Republicans as being conspiracy theorists, but where there's transparency, there's no need for conspiracy thinking and questioning. And if you are hiding something and you're not answering questions, that's where the conspiracy theories kind of, are born from. And so I think that's the main thing that's going on right now is there's a lot of questions still, even with the new active director, and his last name is Rowe. I think is it Ron Rowe? I think that's right.
Yeah, Ron Rowe Jr.
Yeah. So he's talking and he's giving more answers, but still, like, she couldn't even give like the timeline and couldn't answer like who exactly was in charge of that sweeping that building and all that. And then they kind of blamed the local police for not covering that building. And I'm like, it's a direct line sight to the guy, and you're not into a former president who's you're supposed to be protecting, and you don't know for sure who's supposed to be covering it. And then they didn't even communicate with the local PD prior to the event, only after the shooting. So I'm
I was shocked when they were going through it, because normally you don't see the bipartisanship. You always have the thank you for your service. You've done such a wonderful job.
Right.
And then the other one, then the other side's kind of giving you the nitty gritty of what really happened. And to see all of them pile on her for just, it was rightly so.
Right.
And then she said she never even went there.
I know.
That was the most shocking thing to me. She never even went there. Never went there. Never talked to anybody.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, couldn't answer anything. And I thought like Nancy Mace did a nice job, and some of the other ones I thought just really trying to find out what happened.
Well, she definitely
and
got
how
pummeled.
it happened.
She got pummeled by both sides, which was I thought amazing to watch. And then of course she resigned the next day, which rightfully so. I mean, they were all just basically saying you're incompetent.
Yeah, I was thinking the Vegas odds were like 3-1 that during the interview she would have just resigned live on TV.
Right.
That would have been great.
Say I'm out.
But then she survived the day. Yeah, peace out. A real mic drop. Peace out. I'm going back to the Doritos. I'm out of here.
Right. I don't need this shit.
One of the congressmen said, "Why don't you go back to guarding Doritos?" I didn't realize that she was like the head of security for Pepsi.
Yeah.
Until that part, and I was like, wait a minute, what? And then couldn't believe it. But yeah, just crazy not being able to answer the questions. How in the world did they? I mean, that building, if you look at they're showing like the aerial view.
Yeah.
It's like plain as day. And then you had that water tower behind it. And
right.
I don't know.
Well,
and watching it yesterday, and I think that Senator Graham, Senator Kennedy made some good points as well. Like, you knew about it, you had the information, and you had all the people with their cell phones. But he had a rangefinder. What was it, to find out where his seat was? I don't know. It just seemed the rangefinder to me was the dead giveaway.
Right.
Okay, my seat is 450 feet away. Okay, that's where my seat is. I'm in section B, row 3, seat 5. Okay.
Well,
but there he is, hanging out.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Not only that, but I saw actually early this morning, this is something new. There was a new video that came out, so you'll have to pull it up. But it's from the view of where Trump's in the foreground and the building is in the background, and it's almost like level with Trump from an attendee from the rally. And he's looking across and videotaping Trump, and you can clearly see the shooter running across the roof and then crouching down on a different part of the roof, whereas like the Secret Service, the new acting director said, well, this is the view. My guys could only see, it was only a 5-inch, lip on that building, and you could only see the top of his head. And it was like, this totally disputes that completely. And it's clear as day. So that just came out, which was really amazing video. So I don't know how they're going to address that. But, I was going to tell you too, I don't know if you know this story, but a friend of mine, Pam, and I went to a luncheon in Houston where Trump was speaking. This was years ago, and a couple years back. And he came and spoke, and we went through all the Secret Service vetting to get into the event and the screening and the bomb sniffing dogs and the electronic scanners and all that stuff. And they looked in your bags and all that, and you couldn't take a big bag, just like almost like going to a concert. You had to have a little small, bag. We went in anyway. We had seats that were very close to Trump, within 10 feet or so. We were the front table. And this little kind of dweeby guy was sitting next to us kind of by himself. And everybody was like going around the table right before the event started, kind of introducing ourselves and why we were at the event. And it came to this guy, and he said, I'm with Trump. I'm an attorney for Trump. And I'm looking at this guy, and I shake his hand, and it's like this clammy little wet hand of this guy who could barely talk. He was so soft-spoken and quiet and creepy. And I was like, there is no way in hell that this guy works for Trump. Trump would not have somebody like that working for him. So we just got this weird vibe from him, this weird feeling. And my friend and I were talking about it, and she's like, if he goes for Trump, I'm going to trip him, and you jump on him. And we're like making this plan. And then I said, I'm going to just go whisper to that guy over there. I think he's Secret Service. And I got up from the event and went over there and said, I hate to talk about somebody, turn somebody in, but this guy's giving me a really weird vibe, and I don't think he works for Trump, and he claims he does. And he said, and he winked at me and he said, don't worry about it, we already got our eye on him. And sure enough, then somebody came over to the table and said, oh, hi, how are you? We're greeting us, and said, is anybody here that's not supposed to be here? And we're all looking at her like, what? And then that dweeby guy raised his hand, and they ushered him out. And I was like, okay, that was bizarre. So, yeah. But the Secret Service was like already on it. They were like already pegged him. They were already going to remove him. And, I don't know why they didn't protect him more in this particular situation at the rally, but I don't think it's going to happen again.
I hope not.
Yeah.
I mean, there's folks that think possibly, you never know. People have bad intentions, but it is amazing that you and your friend were sitting at that table, though. Again, I feel like there's always that intervention, like you have certain angels that can help you and guide you. Like there was probably a reason you were there and at that table. Maybe they were already watching the guy, or they said they were, and you alerted them, but certainly could have. It would have been great news, though. Yeah. Would you have jumped over the table with your new Trump shoes on?
I totally
that would have been
have.
awesome.
I totally
that would have been awesome.
I would have no
cool.
problems with tackling the guy for sure, no matter what it took. Anyway, the other thing about Trump, just like to sneak this in there, I don't know, because I know you're traveling today, but he was speaking at the Association for Black Journalists at their national convention in Chicago. And there was a lot of uproar about this, but I guess it's like tradition that they host presidential nominees. And they invited Harris to speak as well, but she declined. And then she tried to slip in like a virtual message, oh, I can do this. And they denied it because I guess they didn't have time to organize it or something. But I watched the interview. It wasn't all great. Trump was Trump. And thank God Harris Faulkner was there because she balanced out the questioning a little bit in his favor, which was nice. But anyway.
Yeah, I do like her. I think she does a great job. I think she's top notch. Whenever I catch her on there, she's always right to the point.
Yeah.
I feel like she's one of the ones you can trust, like she's good. She's honest. She tells it like it is. Doesn't really throw any bad punches or anything like that. I enjoy watching her.
She's a very smart lady. I really have a lot of respect for her. I did see her in normal clothes on something about a month ago, and she was in like a black baseball cap and a white white, pretty crisp shirt and some black skinny pants with tennis shoes. Not Trump tennis shoes, by the way, but whatever she had, whatever she had on. But and she looked like a child. I didn't realize how tiny she is. Like she's super thin and really petite, like looking. I didn't know how tall she was, but she looked really tiny. So that was really crazy. Anyway, let's see. So since our last episode too, Joe Biden obviously quit his reelection campaign, stopped his reelection campaign. And Kamala Harris has now been like anointed Queen Bee and presumptive nominee and savior of the Democrat Party. So I just wanted your take on that, on this kind of rewriting of her history.
Yeah. Well, I kind of thought a while back that in the polls, Biden wasn't doing so well. And I think the knockout was definitely the debate, especially when they were doing the split screening. And everybody was thinking, okay, we got to make some moves here, which is so ironic because I feel like just a few months ago, all right, we got to get Harris off the ticket. Biden might need a new running mate.
Yeah.
And then suddenly they have the primaries, right? So the people, Biden, I think, had 14 million votes, and then he's out. But I think for the Democrats who always talk about democracy, but so you're kind of throwing away those 14 million votes instead of having their own primary. Because, you know, as you recall, the first time she got less than 1% and was out before the Iowa caucus.
Right.
But then all of a sudden now she's this big savior and she's going to do all these great things. But everybody has to understand she hid the fact that Biden couldn't do anything. She's probably been running the country for the past 2 years, so destroying it. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden now she's going to change and flip-flop on all the things that she talked about, like fracking and ICE and police and offshore drilling.
Yeah.
And now she's like, oh, no. I'm all for it. Here, vote for me. Yeah, I think it's crazy. I wouldn't trust her. I think she's terrible. What did they see? She was the most leftist, even more left than Bernie Sanders.
Yeah.
As far as all the senators go. And she passed the least amount of laws.
Yes.
I don't know. Bad feeling.
Well, so there's a website called GovTrack, and it had, what it does is it tracks congressional voting records, and it ranked her as being the most liberal senator, and this was done back in 2019. And it's ironic, but the page has been removed just in the last 2 weeks. So I mean,
shocking! Wow,
right?
Really?
Yeah. Imagine
censorship.
that.
We don't do that. No,
right.
We don't do censorship here. We're not Venezuela. No, we don't do that.
And then I don't know if you like Piers Morgan, but I love Piers Morgan. And he said that Kamala Harris will make history if elected as literally the most far-left senator in U.S. history. And I do believe that. I think that if she is president, we're in for, I don't know if we're going to recognize our country in 4 more years. I mean, look at the devastation that's been done in 3.5 years already. And then if you add somebody that's even more progressive, more liberal, not smart, you know, like I'm not a Hillary Clinton fan, but I can tell you that she's probably just like beside herself right now. She is smarter than Kamala Harris. She's more qualified than Kamala Harris. And, you know, do I want her as president? No, but I think I'd rather have her than Kamala Harris because Kamala Harris to me isn't smart enough to be president. So, I mean, that's just my 2 cents.
Yeah, well, you never know with the DNC coming up. You could always pull a Michelle and Hillary comeback. I never know.
Yeah.
You never know. But I do like Piers Morgan. I remember the first time I think I saw him was on The Apprentice. Mm-hmm. I believe he was on there. Yeah. And that was the first time I saw him. I think he has a good
won.
Take.
I think he won that season.
He's okay.
Yeah. Yeah, so I used to watch that as well. So I think he won that season. I'm a big fan of his because of that as well. I started watching that show way back when Trump had that great show. I actually wanted to try out for The Apprentice, and then they went to just doing the Celebrity Apprentice, and I was really bummed because I'm like, oh, I'd kill this. Oh. I would totally win this. I
know, because you have that. I could see you as marketing and all the other and getting projects done. You would have done well on there.
I think
and
so.
And then I liked George. Wasn't George the older gentleman that was always there?
I think
I liked George. Then Ivanka was on, and then was Don Jr. on there. But I like that George gentleman. He was cool in that show.
So
great show.
One of the funniest episodes I saw was when he had Ivanka and he had Don Jr. in the conference room with him at the same time. and they were talking through some of the projects and all that stuff. And when his sister was speaking, Don Jr. was just like glaring at her, almost like envious, and because Trump kept, talking about how great she was and how much he loved her and respected her opinion and this and that. And then he just kept looking at her like, there's definitely sibling rivalry going on there. It was kind of funny.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, so Kamala Harris, was also called the border czar. And now they're claiming that she was never called the border czar, which I think is hilarious because there's actually video of Biden appointing her border czar and actually saying that term. And then tons of media picked up on that and have called her that for the last, 2.5 years or so. So that's kind of disappearing as well. And
yeah, I saw that March 24th, right? 2021.
Yeah,
I think was the date. But everybody just talked about it. Borders are border. Then she went to like the very tippy top of Texas and claimed that she was at the border.
Right.
And then
she went to El Paso.
Never again.
She went to El Paso, and
Okay.
El Paso and Austin are probably the most liberal cities in Texas that you could possibly go. And what they did was they went in ahead of time too and cleaned up the El Paso border in preparation for the visit, which was anti-productive, obviously. But yeah, she didn't see the true border problem at all where she was. So who do you think she's going to pick for VP?
Well, I'm going to go with Kelly just because first of all, I think with Kari Lake getting the primary win for the Republicans yesterday, that seat is going to be interesting, right? Because Kristen Sinema, didn't she leave and she's an independent? And I don't think Mark Kelly's very strong, but it could be helpful because that would be her border person and claim whatever. But I saw an article that like he was helping with these Chinese spy balloons at one point. So I don't know how much I trust him as what he does. And then my next choice, I would have gone with Pritzker, but just because I think she needs sort of a Midwest person. And then when they interviewed Jayapal, she was giving some comments to Kelly, then someone commented on Shapiro, and you know how Jayapal feels about those folks. So she didn't comment. She's like, I'm not going to comment. And then they mentioned another person, and of course she had comments because that's just Jayapal for you. But I'm going to go with Mark Kelly.
Yeah, so that's my pick too, and it's kind of evolved to that. I was thinking Josh Shapiro initially, and then just the more the anti-Semitism is coming forward with different people within her party that are, even farther left, if there can be. It's kind of, a situation where does she pick that and risk having an uproar with part of her party? So I don't think she's going to go that way, but I think Kelly is probably a safe bet and will help with Arizona and maybe Nevada. And then, people have mentioned Pete Buttigieg, but I'm like, that guy is he's a total disaster with transportation. I'm like, okay, you got a disaster with the person in charge of the border and a disaster with the person in charge of transportation. So that can't be good.
I would love her to pick Pothole Pete.
Oh, I would
be
too.
Great.
I
we
would
had
too.
the shipping containers, and then the planes, and then the hacking, and then the train derailments. He's done so much. It would be great.
Yeah.
That would be a great ticket right there.
No, I would pray for that actually, because I think that would be her demise for sure. So I guess let's talk something a little bit lighter. Let's talk about sports. I don't know if you saw the opening of the Olympic Games, and there was a big controversy about how it opened. Did you see all that?
I did. And I watched, so I'm torn between some events in the Summer Olympics and some events in the Winter Olympics that I like. I try to watch just those, but then I find if there's an underdog, doing well. But yeah, I did see it. And then I don't know, was it really something they said, oh no, it was Dionysus? And to me, it looked like it was mocking the Last Supper just from when I first saw it.
Yeah.
And I don't, if you're going to be a drag or a tran or whatever, everyone's got their own preferences, but I feel that those 1%ers, they're like, it's in our face constantly. It's you either have to bend the knee to this or you're scared of it. And it's just so odd to me. But personally, I think it was a mock, and then they made a mistake, and then people
Yeah.
complained, and then they're like, "Oh no! Here's this great picture. Let's take the Dionysus. He's exactly the guy in blue with the beard. Is not is you know." And what was your take on it?
No, I kind of feel the same way. So first of all, I definitely think that they were mocking the Last Supper and Christianity and acceptance. I think that was their message. And I think that if they were intending on doing this God of wine and this festival thing, my thing is, if it were done, executed properly and done well, then there wouldn't be any controversy. So if that's what their intention was, it was done horribly, it was a horrible job at it. It was not done well. And then I think ultimately, I think they were mocking Christianity, and then they're using that as the excuse. No, we really weren't. We were just being creative, blah, 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 So, I mean, I think I think it was also unnecessary. I just thought it was not necessary. And I'm with you. I have relatives, and I have relatives that are trans. I have friends that are gay. I have relatives that are gay. I really don't care who loves who marries who, whatever. But I do think that there's a lot of the agenda that is being shoved down our throats, and I don't like that. I also don't believe in anybody teaching kids any kind of sexuality before a certain age, age appropriate. So I think anything that's being taught to kids, or even books and stuff, I think you just have to, shelter kids somewhat from messaging until they're ready for that type of messaging. So, I mean, that's just how I feel.
Yeah, that's my take too. I think it's so in our face.
Yeah.
And then again, the mocking of Christianity, and it's also kind of mocking if God makes you this or that, and they're trying to point the finger in other directions. But yeah, I've never seen and never thought I would see it so much in your face. It's like, again, I have trans friends and gay friends. It's fine. It's whatever, and everybody gets along. It's fine, whatever your preference is. But you can't talk about it. You can't look the other way. Oh, geez, you're a homophobe or whatever else you're going to be if you look the other way, or if you don't agree with us. It seems to me like they can't have debates about it. They just want to tell you this is how it is.
Well, that's kind of like how
I'm not a fan of that.
That's a sign of the times, though, as well. I think that goes along the lines of everything else too. I don't think that there's open discussion or debate about almost anything. It's like people say it's this way or no way. It's my view or not at all. And I just think that's really detrimental to our country. I mean, even the universities. I was shocked when my daughter was even at USC and then was at Georgetown, how a lot of the professors, especially when she was home during COVID and she was upstairs and I would be, working from the house, and I could hear conversations and the professors, giving their lectures, and then the responses by the students back and forth, Q&A kind of stuff. And it was amazing to me how some of the teachers shut down open discussion. And, my daughter, for instance, is conservative somewhat, although she likes to say, she's not a hardcore conservative, but she would bring up something and one of the professors would immediately shut her down. And that was really frustrating when you think that, being in school, it should be an open exchange of ideas. And that's how the best things come out of it, going to college. So anyway, so I felt the same way you did. And I thought that it was really poorly executed. I did see Lady Gaga perform. I thought she did really well. That was really cute and creative. But I like her anyway. And then I had never watched USA Women's Rugby before, but I watched the Rugby Sevens, which is like a specific short game type. Did you see that at all?
I did. So in some of the sports I don't typically always watch, rugby was one of the ones that, okay, you get tackled, the ball comes out, you get tackled. Like, it's not like football, okay, it's first down, second down, third down. And I was watching it, and I don't know anything about, like, tries instead of a touchdown. You can kick the ball through the goalpost. And it was in the background, And I thought, oh, geez, I think it was what 12-7 at the time.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, well, close game. Again, is this a sport that we're really good at? Is this, is it a sport that we don't really compete in, but we hang out in, like field hockey and stuff?
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden, I'm looking, and everyone's crying, and they won the bronze medal. And I'm like, wait a minute, what happened here? Was it a fumble? Was it an interception? Was there a flag? Because I'm looking for no flag on the field, but I guess they don't have flags in rugby. So I'm like, okay. She got the ball, ran the whole way down, dove in the end zone, and I'm like, or whatever they call it.
Yeah.
And I thought that was very cool. Very cool.
It was actually really fun to watch. And a funny thing, someone asked me or was talking about back to politics, the Secret Service women who covered Trump following his assassination attempt on him, and they kind of surrounded him, and they were shorter than him. And one of them was like struggling to get her gun back in the holster. and somebody said, would you, if you were president, would you want those little short women guarding you? And I said, no, I would want the USA women's rugby team. Because I was in the middle of watching it, and I'm like, these women were beasts. They were big and strong, and it was really fun to watch, but they were really strong athletes. So that was really cool. So if you haven't watched that, maybe, pull it up on, other people watching can pull it up on YouTube or whatever and catch some of that, because it was really cool. I guess that's pretty much it. We've got back to school happening right now, which I know in the past with Hoffman, we've done some like back to school things with hot dogs. So is there anything that you want to bring up? What's a good snack for kids? Hoffman snack.
Yeah, so recently, as you know, July 17th, National Hot Dog Day, which was great. So we were with our friends at Hyde's, and there was probably 100 people or so there. It was great and fun. As far as the snacking, I mean, you know me, I still like the summer sausage, the mustards, of course, the jalapeno and cheddar sausage, and, the jerky and the hunter sticks are still good snacking items and stuff like that. I actually made something with our kielbasa. So I took our kielbasa, put it in a hoagie roll, sauerkraut on top, French fries, and barbecue sauce. It was like a kielbasa po' boy.
Okay.
It was very tasty, because we had a Polish festival at the Polish Home on the 21st of July.
You're always at some festival. You're always at a festival.
I know. I guess they're busy. I know. And I even wore the Frankie suit. I don't know, bratwurst, because I'm a fat guy who likes food and stuff like that. But I don't mind.
So one of the things that I put on the site, on the Hoffman website last year for back to school, was like a grilled cheese with coins. Like I cooked and cut up a German franc, and then I cooked that in the grilled cheese, and that turned out really good. So you got to check that one out and try that one. But I thought that was a good snack for kids. And then we do have a mac and cheese recipe online as well that has German francs in it. But whatever your kids like. I mean, we have so many recipes and things to enjoy, and kids like good hot dogs. So all right, well, and then we've got football coming up soon. I think college is starting in the next 2 weeks. Is that right?
I think so. Yeah, I think preseason for NFL, you got college, and then so what's going on with your buddy Dak there? Is he staying, going? Is he going to get a good contract?
I don't know.
I have Cowboy fans too, and they're always like, where are they going to go? He's 12-4, 12-4, 12-4, 12-4.
Every time we think we're going to go
I think
all
he's
the
great,
way,
but
it just doesn't happen. And it's so frustrating, because we have a lot of great players, and they seem to have a lot of synergy at the beginning of the season, even midway through, and then towards the end, they just kind of like drop off at the last minute, and you're like, what is happening? But I'm hoping that CeeDee Lamb comes back.
Is he in a contract dispute or something?
Yeah, well,
he's an awesome player.
He's a great player. He's been he hasn't been at camp. He's been waiting out some contract deal negotiation or something. So they said that he's absent right now, and they tried to fill a void. They signed like 2 other people to try to fill that void or something in the meantime at practices. So I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. Who knows? Who knows what Jerry Jones is going to do? And I'm hoping to catch at least 1 or 2 games at the stadium. Stadium's amazing, by the way. If you ever come to Dallas in the fall or the winter, we'll have to catch a game.
Okay.
Yeah.
As long as it's not the Swifties. I don't know if I can stomach another season of that team.
Yeah.
I don't know if I can do it.
Yeah. Wow.
That's going to be tough. It's a good team, but I don't know. They get all those extra third down penalties and Mahomes and with his Kermit the Frog voice running around, and I don't know. I'd like to see them lose in the first round. Who knows?
Yeah, that would be nice, wouldn't it? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I like the Bills. I was kind of, hoping for that to happen this year, but anyway, or this last year. So we'll see what happens, but we'll have you on again when we start talking about maybe tailgating and grilling in preparation for hot dogs and sausages for football games and all that kind of stuff, and we'll go from there.
Sure. That would be awesome.
All right. Well, thanks for hopping on today. It was a lot of fun.
No problem.
Yeah.
It was great.
All right. We'll talk soon.
All right. See you. Bye.
All right. Bye. Thanks for joining us today for episode 8 of The Casual Critics. For those who want to see video, you can find us on YouTube. You can also find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and a number of other podcast platforms. And thanks again to Pat Favalo for joining us today as a guest. And this has been The Baker Take.